Hey, this is Linz, and you are watching Support the Scene.
Hey, this is Jade from Support the Scene. I'm here with another amazing, talented artist. Why don't you introduce yourself to those who might not know you?
Hey, my name's Patrick Masse. How's everybody doing?
We're loving it here. So, tell us a little bit about you as an artist, a little bit about your history.
Well, I've been around for a long time. My first record dropped on April 5th, 1998. And I had early success. I had a top 10 single off my first record and was doing very well. And, but then I was kind of coming to terms with who I was. I'd already come out as a gay man when I was 19, but I hadn't, whatever publicly means. But so there was a lot of rumors about me and things. And I got offered a big record deal a few years after that in Nashville, and they wanted me to sanitize my gayness. And they said, "We own you and you're our property." And I walked away. And I didn't really realize what I was doing at that point because I was 24 years old. And it's the last couple decades, it's been very challenging. I mean, it's difficult when you're the first and a truth teller, because people don't necessarily like the truth. I don't like hearing it, but it's the truth. And so it's been an interesting career over the last couple decades. I mean, I've never left country music. I have 5 studio albums under my belt, and I've sort of transitioned into the other side, more of the business now, to help up and coming artists or songwriters. I was working with the Songwriters Association of Canada up until recently, and did finally, after my entire career, I wanted to be on the Songbird North stage, and I was never allowed. But I finally, just this June 23rd, we did the first Songbird North Pride at Toronto Pride. So it was a full circle moment. And with Lucas Salvieri and Sandy Dupino and Dixon. So it was a really good, well-rounded singer-songwriters, and all artists who, similar to me, were not maybe the first, but the early pioneers, and they've all suffered for it, but I think that's what brings us together sometimes too, right? Is our struggles and the journey is why you do it, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it's about leading the way, creating the path for people who come after you, and be able to see your footsteps, see what went wrong, what things, and learn. And having you there, being able to also teach and to talk to up and coming musicians, really, I think is a great way to give back to the community, but also to keep improving and to keep yourself humble and to keep shooting for the stars.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my parents were very honest people and very welcoming, loving people. So I've always lived with the virtues. Treat people kinder than they treat you, and it's tough sometimes, but it's definitely worth it. And it's interesting to see, because I was doing some research. I just today I launched my first podcast, In Conversations. And it's going to be with door openers. And because I think they are the unsung heroes of the world. And they're often, a lot of them are never found out about, or, they're just, because they just kind of, you often don't get the opportunities from the doors that you open, but you can sure as hell celebrate the people that come after you. And that's why we do it. So I wanted to sit down with just, the person next door to the biggest star in the world and just ask them. Because when I was doing what I was doing, I was just trying to survive. I wasn't thinking I was a pioneer or a door opener. I looked to Katie Lang, because she came out in 1992, mm-hmm. and I walked through the door she held open 10 years later in Nashville, and in 2002. And it was I can't even believe I did it then and in country, because it was so foreign. It's just now being dealt with, because if you weren't white and straight, you weren't allowed in country music. It was basically the rule. So it's nice to see that they're letting the Black artists and the other artists come in now, the people of color, and all the different the Black Opry was around before the Grand Ole Opry people. So if that tells you anything.
I can't agree with you more. And it kind of leads us into, your mentorship project that you've been doing. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's something that I just kind of, I've met some wonderful people over the course of my career, and, that were inclusive and treated me with dignity and respect. And so I went to them and I said, would you guys partner with me and set up a mentorship project so that artists that are marginalized or underrepresented, they get media training, they get all of the things, they get to go into a studio and they get to learn, because it's a very different experience. I started as a live performer, singer, so songwriter. It's a very different thing when you put headphones on and you're hearing your voice for the first time. So there's all those things that I was fortunate to meet some really amazing people in my career, even though it's been very difficult, but I've always had that guidance. And so I think that that's what we're pretty much put here to do is, when we're in a position to help, I think you have to help. And it's interesting to say that I don't know if you know this, but the Z generation, do you know that they listen to podcasts like in the 80 percentile? And they are like twice as much as any other listening group, like young people. And I think we can learn so much from young people and, children and our elders, right? It's I'm not an ageist on any level of it, younger or older. I can't stand it, and it's a big issue that's being faced in my community right now with the amount of gay men in this country who are having to go back in the closet to go into long-term care because the residents or some of the staff are homophobic. It's a big issue, but you don't think about aging when you're younger, right? So I'm trying to tackle that as well. And I just use my voice, and I'm also a regular on CTV News Channel now. And I just tackle things that face my community, and I have the opportunity to be an amplifier and an activist, and I don't take it lightly. So if I find out you're mistreating somebody, you're probably going to hear from me.
That's fantastic, because we need people like you to stand up for those who can't, and for to give a voice. Because one of the things that you brought up, and it's very true, that our elder care and our home system is such an old, antiquated system that hasn't been touched or revised in so long that people don't even think about it until it's too late, and then they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's a friend of mine. He just passed away, Rekt. He brought that to me years ago. And when you're young and in your 20s, you don't think about that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to die that way. So I'm not going to go back into the club. Forget it. So we have to rectify that. But I think with COVID-19, we really realized that there is a problem with our long-term care facilities in this country. If anything should be federal, I think it should be those institutions, even though because healthcare is provincial, but something has to be done because, a lot of them are run down. The fact that the military had to go in, that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Thank God they were there though. But it's so there's lots of opportunities here, but you got to celebrate the little wins in life, and pick your battles. And there'll always be somebody like me, but there'll never be another me, if that makes any sense. And that's what I always tell people. You're the best you there is and the only one. So you celebrate yourself while you're helping other people.
Celebrate and shine bright. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Now, moving on to your next one, something that's very close to your heart, inclusivemusic.ca. Enlighten us.
Yeah, well, I started that when I went back to the BC Country Music Board, the board that was the cruelest to me in my early career. And I went back in 2019 and I brought a code of conduct in and an inclusion policy. And I started to realize there was still a big issue in country music. So I started with country music in BC. It was a private Facebook group that you had to, join just to see who would join the group and who they would bring into the group.
Yeah.
And my publicist said, you're clever. And so it grew very quickly. It grew bigger than the BCCMA. right away. I was like, okay. And so then when I got COVID-19, and I almost died last year actually of COVID-19, and I lost my voice, and I was broke. And my neighbor that I grew up with next door, I had to do a GoFundMe. I don't know if you've ever done one of those things, but they're the most humiliating things.
Yeah.
And they hound you. I never knew they were on you so much. Every 5 minutes, like post, and you're like, I feel like I'm begging for money. And so Sarah reached out to me and she said, what is going on? And I said, I don't know what to do, Sarah. Like I'm good at a lot of things in the business, but I've always paid people to do things and let them do them. That's another big thing of advice. If you hire somebody to do something, don't micromanage them and don't think you know more than them, because you wouldn't have hired them. And so she took over the whole websites and all this. And so we then moved it into inclusivecountrymusic.com. And then we realized it's bigger than this. So it morphed into inclusivemusic.ca. So it's basically, I just go out to as many things as I can and just highlight artists that are underrepresented or marginalized. And if you choose to not be inclusive, then you chose to not be inclusive. We didn't alienate you. And I'm that whole cancel culture thing, I get annoyed with that. No, but if you're not, if you've been a bigot, racist person your whole career, you chose that lane. So people aren't going to want to be around people like that for much longer. I hope not anyways, because we don't need people like that in our society, that are trying to divide us and tear us all down. It's like, who wants to be remembered for that? I certainly don't.
Exactly. And it's community, it's building it together. I love that there's a platform that you're working on to really push these artists up.
Yeah.
And so for everyone who wants
future,
to
right?
Exactly. And for everyone who wants to try and find you and your things, where are your socials? Where do you want to direct?
If you ever want anything listed, you can go to inclusivemusic.ca, and you can. There's a form there to fill out, and we'll obviously vet it, but we'll get it up on all the socials. Or you can go to patrickmasse.com, masse.com, and there's my record labels there. I also have Y75 Records that I started in 2009 that was going to be a self-producing, because when I came out in country music, I got blacklisted overnight, and I had to learn I had to do everything myself. There was only one musician that would work with me in the business, and kicked off radio. So I had to learn how to do everything. So I started my own music services company, Patrick Masse Music Services. I never thought of the abbreviation PMMS.
Yeah.
And so that kind of morphed into Y75 Records. So I also have that label that I have an open door policy. The only prerequisite I have or criteria is talent. So if you have talent, you're going to get a shot. So I have distribution channels and all that too. So basically just, I'm 47 now, so I'm moving on to the other side of my career. And I just want to make sure that there's somebody that was there for me when I was younger that is there for up and comers, or people that are going back into the business later in their life. A lot of people had a lot of realizations through COVID-19, and they, a lot of people, I think, maybe started to do what they really wanted to always do in their lives. And it's never too late. You know what? If you're good, you're good. Period.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to be notified when we upload even more videos. Please, everyone, check out all the links. They will be in our description down below. And thanks again for joining us, Patrick. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. It's awesome.
And have a great day.
You too. Ciao.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. This is Support the Scene. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, follow, and share.